Let me get you up to speed just in case you're not. Earlier today, Capcom announced the Disney Afternoon Collection. It's a collection of games that are based on cartoons that came from the Disney Afternoon, which was a programming block for Disney cartoons in the early 90s. I obviously watched them. They were a big part of what I did after school every day. And these are old games, obviously, compiled into one collection. So it includes Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, DuckTales 2, and TaleSpin. All of these games were available on the NES back in the day. And this collection of games is coming to the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. And when I saw the announcement, I thought for sure it was going to be on the Switch, but for some reason, it's not coming to the Switch. Um, Obviously, we want as many games as possible on the Switch, and I would like for this to be here. But there's a whole bunch of reasons I feel this one stings a little bit more than a few other titles out there that aren't coming to the Switch, and I wanted to get into that. So number one, like I already said, these games were all on the NES. Those are the systems they were on or known for. I owned Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I owned Darkwing Duck, and I rented all the rest except for DuckTales 2. I've never played DuckTales 2. But these are fondly remembered, very fondly remembered by people who own the NES as some of the best games on the system. And that's a lot to say when you consider that they're licensed. Back in the day, Capcom really knew how to handle licensed games. And I don't know if they just put a lot of extra work into them because they were all Disney related and, Disney wanted a certain amount of quality, whatever. Just because you want quality doesn't mean it's going to be there. But these games were fantastic. So they're a huge part of the NES's library. And obviously Nintendo is still making hardware. They have the 3DS out there that's still getting games, and they have the Switch now. But for some reason, this collection isn't coming to the Switch. And it just boggles my mind. We have Nintendo has a rich history with these games. That's where they originally debuted. And now all these years later, Nintendo's main console isn't even going to see them. Another thing is that almost all of these games are platformers. TaleSpin is not a platformer, but all the rest are. And platformers are very important and popular with Nintendo fans. I mean, when you look at Nintendo, they're one of the only companies, the only traditional big name companies that still puts out platformers, traditional style platformers. You see it from indie developers, certainly, because they have affinity for the platformer genre. And I mean, I love platformers, so I'm happy to see that they're doing that. But outside of indies, it's, and a couple of very few and far between examples, it's Nintendo who still embraces the platformer. So you would think there definitely would be an audience for platformers on the Switch, or from Nintendo fans in general, even if you want to consider bringing this to the 3DS. I'm just surprised that it's not even in the discussion here. I don't know how open the Xbox One and PS4 communities are going to be to old school retro platformers, but there's a huge install base there, and obviously Capcom's releasing them on those platforms for a reason, so they must be expecting they can make some money there. So it's not like there's no audience, but I would imagine there to at least be a decent opportunity on the Switch. I know the install base isn't there for sure, but then you could go with the 3DS for that matter. And if you look back at Mega Man Legacy Collection, that didn't release on Wii U, but that released on 3DS, and that is, a collection of Mega Man's traditional platforming games. So I don't know why neither Nintendo system is considered for the Disney Afternoon Collection. Then you take into account the Disney brand, which is obviously very huge and reaches very far and has a ton of fans all over the place. But when you look at Nintendo's family-friendly image, you would imagine that Disney crosses over with that really well. You'd imagine there's a whole audience, especially when you consider younger people, that would be interested in anything Disney, or at least it would perk up their interest and they pay some attention to it. I'm not saying there's not Disney fans on PS4 or Xbox One, but I would imagine there's a lot of younger Disney fans that are going to be playing on 3DS or Switch. And again, I feel like they're being ignored, and I don't know why. I don't have all the details, I don't have the research, I don't have the reasoning or anything like that. But Nintendo and Disney seem like a great partnership to me, and obviously that's true for Nintendo and Disney because they've been working together recently on things. They had their own Mario Kart 8 tournament, which was last summer or something like that. And they do special commercials on Disney for Nintendo games, like commercials using Disney stars to promote Nintendo products. So there's a lot of back and forth right there. And here we see a Disney tie-in that's not going to release on Nintendo platforms. It feels like a big miss to me. Another thing that irks me a lot is Capcom was asked why this isn't coming to the Switch. It seems like that's a question that a lot of people had today. And Capcom hasn't really provided an answer. The only statement they said is it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and that's all the platforms we have planned. And that's all you get. But Digital Eclipse is actually the company that's behind this game. And Digital Eclipse did the Mega Man Legacy Collection. And they were asked on Twitter, why isn't this game coming to Switch? And they said, anything's possible, ask Capcom. So Digital Eclipse is up for it, and it's just annoying to not have an answer. I mean, I could hear an answer that I don't like. Like, I could hear Capcom say, we don't think the audience is there, or we don't have time to dedicate to Switch development right now, or it doesn't make sense for us business-wise, whatever. At least I would have an answer. I wouldn't have to like that answer, but I'd be satisfied by having an answer. Here, we don't have any answer. The developer is like, yeah, it's possible, ask Capcom, and Capcom's like, we have nothing to say. Just give me anything. Like, any reason would at least let this settle a bit for me, rather than just me wondering why it's not there, because it doesn't make sense to me. And then obviously a big part of this is the nostalgia. I mean, this whole thing is about nostalgia. The Disney Afternoon, people are nostalgic for that block of cartoons. And then old school gaming on the NES, or just old school retro gaming in general, people are nostalgic for that as well. And I don't have details on age ranges for people that play on PS4 or Xbox One. Obviously, there's millions upon millions of people who own those systems that were alive when the Disney Afternoon aired, and, were watching it when they grew up. But I would also imagine there's a sizable amount of people who are still Nintendo fans that are either playing on Switch or playing on 3DS that were alive, watched the Disney Afternoon, know these brands, and want to see this content. I feel like that part of the group is being ignored, especially when you factor in that these used to be NES games. And then look at what they're based on. I don't know, when you factor in who's playing Xbox One and PS4, I don't know how many of those gamers are old enough to know Chip 'n Dale or Darkwing Duck or Tailspin. Like Chip 'n Dale, okay, the characters, they've been in other things. Darkwing Duck is pretty much exclusively Darkwing Duck, and unless you were watching during the Disney Afternoon, I don't know that you really know who the character is, other than maybe that he exists, you just don't know anything about it. And then you look at Tailspin, like how many people today really know, or how many people playing on Xbox One and PS4 today really know what Tailspin was or anything about the series. DuckTales is coming back, so obviously that one has to be left out. But yeah, I feel like, the kids that were playing those games on the NES back in the day are going to be the ones that are eager to check these games out the most. I don't know how many people that never experienced them are going to be hopping in on this. I'm sure there will be some, it could be a sizable amount for all I know. But those gamers this is a nostalgia package, and I feel like while, lots of people on Xbox One and PS4 and PC as well are going to be lumped into that nostalgic group that are getting this because they played them back in the day, or they recognize the cartoons or the brands. I feel like people that own a 3DS or a Switch are also well in that group and deserve to be represented, and we're not. So that's just some quick thoughts on the Disney Afternoon collection. I am very disappointed to see it's not hitting Switch or 3DS. Both systems make sense. I could understand it being more difficult for the games to come to 3DS, but then when you look at the Mega Man Legacy Collection, which was done by Digital Eclipse, and it was NES games on the portable, it seems like they know what they're doing. So I think they would be able to handle a 3DS version if Capcom tasked them with it. It's just, it's not happening, and Switch obviously makes sense because it lines up with the other systems. It's not like these are going to be pushing capabilities of platforms with their HD versions of retro NES games. So it's sad to see. Hopefully things can change. Like I said, Digital Eclipse was like, hey, anything's possible, ask Capcom. So let's do that. Let's reach out to Capcom and let them know we want to play this on Switch, or we want to play this on 3DS, or we want to play it on both. I mean, tweet them. If you want to send them this video, that'd be fantastic too. But I don't care what you do, as long as if you agree and you think it should be on at least one of these Nintendo platforms, let Capcom know. And you don't have to go about it in a way that makes you sound like an asshole, and you don't have to be angry about it. You know, whether you're angry about it or not, that anger's not going to get you anywhere. Just let them know, hey, I'm really saddened to see this isn't happening, and I want you to know that I think the support would be a good idea, and I'll be there day one if you do it. So let's see if Capcom changes their mind. I certainly hope so, because I'm very much looking forward to play these games again, and I would love to do it on Switch or 3DS. Hey guys, RMC here from Go Nintendo. If you like what you saw in the video, why don't you give us a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe? We'd love to have you. If you want to see what else we're up to, you can check out GoNintendo.com for 24-hour Nintendo news. You can visit us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GoNintendo. You can check us out on Twitter at Twitter.com/GoNintendoTweet. And we're even over on Instagram at Instagram.com/GoNintendo. I put all the links in the description just to make it easier for you guys to follow. Thanks a lot.